nothing to report. So we are now at item number 6, which is call to order in our Pledge of Allegiance. So
yes, we are exceptionally pleased this evening to have student Isaac Lee with us to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. He is from Carver Elementary School. I'll turn it over to you, Isaac.
Good evening, Superintendent Del Torre, distinguished board members, and all those in attendance. My name is Isaac Lee, and I'm a 5th grade pioneer at Carver Elementary. I'm joined here by my family. In the audience are my dad, my mom, and my brother Terrence, who is a 2nd grade pioneer at Carver. I'm here tonight because I'm the current Student Council President representing Carver. As the Student Council President, I'm tasked with representing the entire student body. To do this job, I have to show leadership. But what exactly is leadership? Well, to me, it means to take everybody's ideas and to combine them and use that combination to lead the student body. It also means to speak up about what you want to change and implement. I wanted to run for Student Council President because I wanted to be able to lead Carver and help fix some problems like climate change by leading a campaign to plant fruit trees at Carver. We will be working with the Spring Student Council on this project. Meanwhile, for a service project at Carver this month, the Student Council was hard at work with the Back to Basics 2.0 drive. This past week, we've been collecting tons of donations with boxes we've handcrafted. Some of the designs included an alligator and a hot air balloon to encourage fellow students to donate, and it worked. Our drive ended last week and we've collected socks, gift cards, shampoo, card games, conditioner, hand sanitizer, bars of soap, and over 500 toothbrushes for our neighbors in Rosemead at the Maryville Orphanage. In addition to our service project, we've also been working with the San Marino Unified School District, Director of Food Services, Mrs. Bengali, and Mrs. Travisano to plan the lunch menu for Carver, Valentine, and Huntington. We learned about the ChooseMyPlate.org website, and it was fascinating to learn about all the proper nutritional components it takes to provide a well-balanced breakfast and lunch to our student population daily. It was so fun to learn about nutrition and proper meal planning. Look out, students. Our March menu is going to be delicious. During all of these meetings, we've been discussing teamwork and what it means to be an effective leader. Today, as I welcome you to the award-winning San Marino Unified School District Board meeting, I would like to pay respect to our country and our flag. Please join us as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand quietly and respectfully. Face the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Right. Thank you so much, Isaac. You did an outstanding job, and I think we owe you a round of applause. Now we're going to present you with a certificate, Isaac, and we're going to take 2 pictures, one with your parents, the board president, myself, your principal, and your brother. And then the next one is going to be with the full board and the same people that we just mentioned. So let's do that. Okay.
So I don't know whether you know, and I'm sure you do, right? But when we had the State of the District address, we had, there is a, an informative video about Carver Elementary School, and you and your brother were in it, and you did a fantastic job.
As a matter of fact, I'll sign it right now. Thank you so much. Great job. Thank you.
I'm not sure any of us can follow that. So
It's really difficult.
it is. So we're going to try. All right. Item 6B on the agenda, approval of the agenda. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Mrs. Ryan, second.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Chang, and any discussion? None? Roll call vote, please. Mr. Kalaki,
Aye.
Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Chan,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan,
Aye.
school board member?
Aye.
Namjack, aye. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 6C, approval of the January 25th, 22nd, 2022 Board of Education meeting minutes. Would someone like to make a motion?
Move to approve the minutes.
Mrs. Chan, a second?
Second.
Mrs. Ryan, any discussion? No discussion, then roll call vote, please. Mrs. Ryan?
Aye.
Okay, Mrs. Chan?
Aye.
Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mr. Kalaki?
Aye.
School board member?
Aye.
Namjack, aye. Motion unanimously passes. Item number 7, public comments. The Board of Education has adopted Board Policy 9323B to ensure the public's right to be heard in any matters pertaining to the school district. Persons who wish to provide public comment will have 3 options. 1, submit through an online form. 2, request to speak during the meeting via Zoom. 3, request to speak during the meeting in person via the public comment card. Submit through an online form. The public may submit public comments for the open or closed session on February 8th from 11 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Comments received during this time will not be read during the meeting, but will be provided to the board. Dr. Choi, were there any comments submitted?
Comment submitted online.
Okay, no comments submitted online. Now we go to number 2, request to speak during the meeting via Zoom. During public comment, the meeting will pause for 1 minute to take requests to speak. The raise hand function is used to take requests during the public comment period. For online attendees, press the raise hand icon to add yourself to the queue. For phone attendees, dial *9. The speaking order will be determined based on the order of requests received. Individual speakers will be unmuted and called to speak. Dr. Choi?
We're pausing for 1 minute to take requests to speak regarding matters not on the agenda. If you'd like to make a request, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. We have 30 seconds remaining. If you'd like to make a request to speak regarding matters not on the agenda, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. Okay, President Jack, we have no requests.
Thank you. Now, option number 3, request to speak during the meeting in person via the public comment card. Please complete the public comment card, submit the completed card in the designated drop box with the assistant to the superintendent no later than when the agenda section is called by the board president. Opportunities for public comment are offered prior to closed session at the start of the regular open session for items not on the agenda and prior to the consent information action items for matters on the agenda. The board reserves the right to add a public comment period prior to any individual item on the agenda. 5 minutes may be allotted to each speaker and a maximum of 20 minutes to each subject matter. However, in the event there are more than 4 speakers on the same subject matter, the board retains the discretion, the board president retains discretion to adjust and limit the time allocated to each speaker to ensure that all wishing to speak will be heard within the 20-minute allotment. 7A, communications from the audience regarding matters not on the agenda are to be made at this time.
We actually did the not on the agenda. Can we move on to in consent?
Thank you. Consent section 8, consent agenda. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Oh, no.
Oh, did we?
May we go and pause for 1 minute to take public
I'm
comments?
sorry.
Okay.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. We're pausing for 1 minute now to take requests to speak regarding matters in the consent section. If you'd like to make a request, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. Thirty seconds remain. If you'd like to make a request, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. Okay, we have no requests.
All right, thank you. So now we do come to item number 8, the consent section. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent section?
I'd like to make a motion, but before make a motion, I'd like to ask for the AE 2022 to 23 St. Gabriel Co-op agreement. Is that this the first time we have this agreement or?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Could you repeat that? I'm looking at
Dr.
the calendar.
Territory, is that
Sure.
AE, is that this the first time?
AE,
Co-op.
Co-op?
I don't think so. I don't think it's the first time. This was on the agenda last year, right? Annual item,
Then,
yes.
Okay, and is that with this agreement, is that benefit to all of the school district?
Yes,
I mean, for the negotiation power or for the cost reduction or?
yes,
for the-
it's a consortium essentially, yes. And we pool our resources to save monies.
Okay,
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Chang makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion? None being had, motions are on the floor. Roll call vote, please. Mr. Kalaki,
Aye.
Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Chan,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan,
Aye.
student board member? Namjack, aye. Motion unanimously passes. Now go to item 9, communication section. Communications from the Board of Education. Mr. Kalaki, may we start with you?
Yeah, since our last meeting, although I wasn't able to attend the entire game, I was able to watch some of the basketball game at our high school, which was great to see the result, and congratulations to our varsity team and all of our students in that basketball program. And I also this week received some good news from Facebook that told me that when I had donated to the San Marino Schools Foundation on the Giving Tuesday campaign, that they notified me this week that they were matching part of my donation.
Oh,
So
Great.
Facebook was kind enough to give another $1,000 on top of the donation to the Schools Foundation. So I don't know how that played out with any other donors, but at least we got one match. So that was good. So that's all I have to report.
It's good to know. Good to know. Mr. Chang?
Just follow up about the basketball game. I think each of us, I think I know the name and the Jen. I think you are there last Thursday, right? Yeah. So it's a wonderful game. I was not there. Yeah. But you know, the next day game, the San Marino High School with the La Canada, I was there. Even you know the any result not affect to the champion Rio Hondo championship, but if we won, then we will be exclusive as the number one. But I think the night probably Thursday night is too tired. So first 15 minutes, the did not show the energy. But later, I think we have a wonderful coach. I think he always motivate them. So end up we try to catch up, but unfortunately, lastly is 44 to 53. Yeah. So, but it's also is a wonderful game. Yeah, I see I talked to the basketball player parent. They said for the last 10 years, the parent also invest to the kid for the basketball. So right now the result come out. Yeah. So the next step we are looking for the CIF SS playoff. Yeah. I don't have a date, but definitely I think this year besides tennis girl championship, I think basketball also is in progress. Yeah. So thank you for the coach Pop and the player and the player parent. I think all they get a big credit. Yeah, they work together every day. Thank you.
Mrs. Chong?
Yes, so I move this. So I spoke with a number of community members regarding different topics, including our COVID situation, school activities, budgeting, and spoke with other school board members, not in San Marino, just to get a sense of what's happening in other school districts, not just in our state, in our area, but even in our state and outside of our state. So it's helpful to see a lot of the common issues we're all facing. In terms of activities that I attended on February 3rd, I attended the Love Notes choir concert, which was amazing. Watching all of the students get up there and just pour their heart out on the floor of the quad was just a really sweet and joyful display, not just of the students' talent, but even their love for each other as they cheered each other on. February 4th, I also, as Mr. Chang mentioned, went to the basketball game. I actually watched all the games that evening. I didn't mean to. I sort of started with girls basketball JV, and then I kind of stayed and watched girls varsity, and then which we unfortunately lost, but we made up for it, more than made up for it, with a very exciting game. And again, so exciting to watch the students watching. I'm looking at student board member. You were there, right? I mean, that energy was like pulsating, and it was a packed gym. People were just literally just pouring out of the seam. So it was just really exciting. And it was a proud moment for, I think, everybody to see that hard work pay off. Yesterday, I watched the City of San Marino Town Hall on the budget process, which was interesting to see how they also have restricted and unrestricted funding that they have to follow too, with a similar size budget as ours. And so that was interesting. And then we all attended the State of the District last week, which I thought was a really great chance for us to pause and evaluate where we were and the progress that we've made this year. And then in reflecting upon that, I wanted to say thank you to our site leadership with our principals, our assistant principals, our teachers, and our staff. They have been putting student learning and social emotional health at the forefront of everything, despite chaos in the world. And it's just absolutely amazing, because the last couple of months have been so challenging, and yet we see our students being successful, paying off, as Mr. Chang mentioned, with years of commitment to athletics, to singing, dancing. I believe our girls water polo and wrestling won last week as well. Sorry if I'm stealing your update. But it's just so amazing to see all of the years of commitment pay off. I know we've been getting a lot of trickles of early admissions for college with students celebrating, and it really is just a testament to the community and to everybody just investing constantly in our students. And it is especially amazing when I look at the start of our school year a month and a half ago, to think that we really started from a point of positivity and strength. And that really demonstrated the unity of purpose in our district to put our students first. And I think we see that paying off now with so many students just really engaged in their academics and their activities and their athletics, and just celebrating it with each other too. That's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Chan. Mrs. Ryan?
All right, so I stayed local. I also did not go to the basketball game. In January, I was able to attend Kroll Public Library meeting with the city finance officer and found out a little bit behind the scenes about their budget. Continue to do some training through UCLA for mental health. Congratulations and celebration this month for Black History Month and in honor of Lunar New Year. Congratulations to everybody who celebrated and got their lucky money and decorated their homes and cleaned. I continue to train through special ed administration. And I want to say congratulations to each of our sites. San Marino High School, Middle School, Dr. Lynn with Carver, Alana, who isn't here, but Valentine, our teachers, our students, our families. Thank you for all that you do. I think President Jack, the state of the district with your leadership and Dr. Delatorre's, congratulations. I thought that was very well done. To address and make sure that we are keeping our students at the forefront. Threat assessment training, I've been doing some of that, and then looking at ADA in terms of independent study programs. I also attended LACSA's diversity programming that occurred the other night because I couldn't get on to the city sense on budget. I guess they cut it off after 100 people.
Yeah.
And then I'm continuing to work with the Asian Pacific Islander School Board Association on programming for the community. So that's it for me.
Thank you. With respect to myself as president of the board, along with Superintendent Delatorre, we attended both the San Marino Schools Foundation meeting as well as the PTA Council meeting. And we thanked them both profusely for their commitment to us, not only in terms of dollars, but in terms of time and dedication, and what they bring to the community, which is intangible and priceless, I believe. Then I did attend the basketball game. And as all of you guys know, I love sports. I am small, so obviously I can't play it, but I love to watch it. And that basketball, it was electric, right? I mean, the energy was electric. The kids were amazing. The players were amazing. It was like out of a movie. And I thought I had 10 heart attacks in between, right? We're up by more than 10 and then we're behind. And then, oh my God, we go through overtime. But anyway, regardless, right? We now have a share of the CIF championship. So that is an amazing thing for us. And we have playoffs to go. I also met with Lisa Link to talk to her about the superintendent search process, as she had been the past board president to go through it, simply in terms of the process, not in terms of the actual, who did they interview and that kind of thing, but in terms of the process to make sure that everyone had input and that the public especially had input. So we can talk about that a little more, but at this point, I just wanted to bring that up. So thank you very much. That concludes my report. So now, student board member, did you go to the basketball?
We did go to a basketball game, and if you didn't see, there was a faculty halftime game where they shoot the three-pointer. Yeah, so it was two of our math teachers and the South Path's athletics director. And they all get Titan gear for participating as a thank you, but just in case for any San Marino vandalism, we're only giving them t-shirts because we don't want our nice Titan hoodies plastered anyway. And the seniors at Yosemite, they think it's beautiful. They're sad about the slow internet. But other than that, that's all.
Wow.
That's all for me.
Thank you. And thank you always for being here. I know these hours can be long, but we surely appreciate you being here.
Yes.
All right, so now Superintendent Delatorre, 9B, Communications.
Thank you, President
You are
Jack,
welcome.
members of the Board of Education. February is a month with a great deal for schools to reflect on and celebrate. We, of course, have Valentine's Day coming up on February 14th. We have President's Day, holidays this month. On Friday, February 18th, that is the day that we observe Lincoln's birthday. And then February 21st is Washington's birthday, which is a federal holiday. And of course, it is Black History Month, which Shelley Ryan mentioned just a moment ago, which pays tribute to incredible sacrifices and contributions of African Americans who were instrumental in helping develop our great nation. Black History Month is a time that provides us in public education with an opportunity to explore and learn about the heritage, accomplishments, hardships, and culture of African Americans. I will be sending out information on what all of our schools are doing to aid our students in learning about Black History Month. It's really exciting. I was able to see some of the videos that our wonderful principal, Dr. Lynn, shared with me today. And so students are very actively engaged in this endeavor, and it's just a wonderful opportunity for us to celebrate and to learn. Just a brief COVID update. The state of California will in fact lift its COVID-19 indoor mask wearing requirement. Dr. Choi is going to do a presentation for the Board of Education. I'm sure he's going to talk a little bit about that, but I wanted to mention that it is not going to have an immediate effect on Los Angeles County. And there are good reasons for that. So I also wanted to mention that I'm really excited about building the relationship with our city of San Marino, working together with them. I have a Zoom meeting set up to meet with the city manager on February 15th, and we have committed to meeting on a regular basis going forward. And we're going to be talking about some really exciting joint projects that we can come up with and work on. So super excited about that, and just so proud of our students and the work that they have been able to do, even despite the fact that they have been faced with a pandemic. And you saw Isaac this evening deliver the information about Carver, and what enthusiasm and excitement in that young man's voice. He is so excited to represent his school, and that's really what it's all about for us. It's all about the kids. Every decision that we make, all the plans that we lay out are all about making sure that we are helping every single student succeed in San Marino schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Delatorre. We now go to item number 10, communications from the audience regarding matters on the information agenda are to be made at this time. Dr. Choi.
Okay, thank you, President Jack. We're pausing for 1 minute to take requests to speak regarding matters in the information items section of the agenda. If you would like to make a request, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. We have 30 seconds remaining. If you'd like to make a request to speak regarding the information items on the agenda, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. Okay, President Jack, we have no requests.
No requests being had. Informational items, 11A, San Marino High School musical preview. I'm very excited.
Yes, we have our wonderful assistant principal here to introduce our high school drama students and teacher.
Don't break the mic.
Do they know that you're up?
I'm hoping my booming
Okay.
voice will attract them in here.
Principal Topalian will round them up
Thank
for
you.
you.
We got a big show for you. Let's make sure they're in the wings. All right. All right. President Jack, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. De La Torre, student board member, and executive team. Thank you for taking the time for us to share with you a preview of our upcoming musical, Band Geeks, to be held at SMHS starting on February 24th. Even during the height of the pandemic, San Marino High School has done whatever it takes to give students the opportunity to express their talents outside of the classroom, because our students need that outlet to demonstrate their hard work, and we, the audience members, want to be there to show our support and pride for our students. I'm lucky to have had a preview of what the drama department can do. The winter play, Almost Maine, was well acted, funny, full of energy, and an absolute joy to watch. It's hard to be funny with these masks on, and our drama kids did it perfectly. We encourage all to come out and enjoy Band Geeks in the Nair Auditorium from February 24th to March 3rd, from March 3rd to 5th. I would like to introduce our drama teacher, Mr. Daniel Hernandez, who will describe the performance that our students will deliver for you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you to all the board members for having us here tonight. My name is Daniel Hernandez, and it is an absolute honor and privilege for me to introduce this cast to you. Before they begin, I'd like to take a quick moment just to describe how extraordinarily hard these students have worked to make this show come to fruition, especially under these difficult circumstances that we have before us. I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of all their work. So without further ado, I'd like to present to you the cast of the San Marino High School musical, Band Geeks.
No, face the camera.
Face the camera.
Face the camera.
Yeah.
Don't face us, yeah. Face the camera.
Of the San Marino Board of Education, as well as to all of those in attendance. It is with great pride that we assemble in front of you representing the San Marino High School Spring Musical Band Geeks.
For reasons that we are all aware of, it has been far too long since we have performed on our stage, but that is about to change. We would like to take this opportunity to invite all our board members to come and see our musical, and also give you a little sample of what is in store. Time to polish my tuba.
Break my foot back in the case.
We gotta copy the drill charts, divide up the horn parts.
And place all the hash marks in their proper place.
I don't know if I'm ready. Only minutes till the band arrives.
There's nothing to fear, we're seniors this
I think
year.
I'm starting to break out in eyes. The summer is gone and suddenly we begin. On the practice field, it's 100 degrees easily.
Now it's time to fall in line with these
Bandies. No one else understands. Bandies. All we're made in Japan. We were born to play, and band camp starts today. Ba, 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 ba. Do, 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 do.
And now we would like to present each board member with a personalized ticket to come watch Band Geeks. So thank you all for having us here, and we hope to see you there.
We're going to take 2 photos with you. One with President Jack and helping them with the full board. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, guys. Amazing.
You guys were incredible.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
One, two, and.
Okay, can we get the full board, please? Thank you.
Is the Star Wars shirt supposed to be?
The shirts are from the time period of musical.
You get it ready?
I'm gonna try to. Okay, here we go. One, two, and three. Perfect. Thank you.
Oh my God. May I take those? This?
There'll be some more. Here's
Okay.
everybody. There'll be some more.
All
I know
right.
there's a couple more.
It's amazing. It's just amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Karen, don't you think you should get one too? A free one?
She
She'll get a
should.
free one.
She should, right?
Mr. Chang. Mrs. John. Thank you. Mr. Kowalski.
Thank you.
Over already. All right, again, how do we follow that? First of all, I'm amazed that they all came out, right? I mean, it's not, it's evening, it's 7:30, they've been here, unbelievable. And then to be able to have that kind of projection, right?
And a
With the
mask.
masks on is just unbelievable. And really, I mean, just the combination is just unbelievable. So I will be using my ticket. So I just want to make sure, because that was just delightful. So thank you
Absolutely.
so much, Superintendent Delatorre, for making them come before us. So thank you. And now on to 11B, Superintendent Search Process Update. Superintendent Dr. Delatorre.
Yes, thank you, President Jack, members of the Board of Education, student board member, and the one member of the executive team that's here tonight, Dr. Stephen Choi. I have provided each board member with a binder of materials that are in fact responses to the district's request for proposal. You have 4 firms that have responded to the request for proposal. And my recommendation is, because it is a manageable number, all reputable firms, that the board agree to hold an open session board meeting wherein you can interview each of these firms. And these proposals can be discussed in total with you, and you then can ask any questions that you have for each of these firms once you've had some time to really review the materials. So all 4 of these firms, their fee includes the search services. And I do have an update for the board, which I will give you in terms of the amount on one of these, but not publicly. Because we need to keep the amounts confidential until the board makes a selection, and then it will become public, the one that we choose. That contract will be published and become public, but because they have submitted proposals at this point in the process, it's not appropriate for us to put those amounts out there, but I do have them for the board. And so I'm going to pass a handout down to you, but I would ask that we not discuss that. The amounts.
Oh, this has to do with the amounts. All right.
Yep.
Here we go. I'm sorry, here we go. But we will reveal the amount of what we pay depending
Yes.
on who we select.
That is
that
correct. That
Okay.
is exactly
So the,
correct. And I
so it
did-
will be transparent
Yes.
as to
Mhm.
the amount.
Yeah.
So this is in keeping with, as I said earlier, I'd spoken with past president of the board, Lisa Link, and she said that this is also what they had done, that they had received RFPs or RFQs from different search firms, and that they had made the determination to interview all of them as a board. So I know that is your recommendation. That would be
Yes.
my recommendation as well. If informally we can agree to that, then And that would be an open session public, so everyone could hear.
Yes.
My only request, I think only because we do have business to do, is would the board, if you guys agree that we want to interview all of them with all of us, right, in open session, is to do it on a day, hopefully next week, so we can keep moving the process along and not at a school board session, because Mrs. Lincoln told me that depending on the interviews were between 45 minutes to an hour, including the presentation. So with 4 of them, it could conceivably be 4 hours. So for us to do it during a regularly, 2 Tuesdays from now, I think would be too much. She also stated, right, that the process is very transparent. It is open to the public, as once we determine which the search committee is, that they will then kind of take the laboring oar and start communicating with the community and the stakeholders, as well as ourselves, in terms of what we're looking for in terms of a profile of a superintendent, and then the job application that also will be made public. So I know I've said a little too much, because all we have here is the 4 potential search firms. Does anyone have a comment or would like to make a statement as to your suggestion and my suggestion that we interview all of them, and that all 5 of us do the interviewing at a time that is not at a school board meeting, at a scheduled school board meeting?
And just to tag on to what you're requesting of the board, one of these firms happens to be in Iowa. And so what may come up if the board selects a date for interviews is they may request to come in remotely. And I need to know whether or not the board is okay with that. Do you want all firms to be here in person to interview before the board physically, or are you comfortable with some of them zooming in during the meeting? That's a decision that the board will have to make. And then we'll also have to select a date.
Okay, so I think the first question right in front of us, if we did it in bite-sized portions, is do we want to interview all 4?
Before we talk about that, so there were a few other search firms that were included. And in my own research, I noted all of the ones that you had originally suggested were pretty much all there were.
Yeah.
So can I assume that they just simply decided not to submit, or
They did not respond.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The first issue is, do we want to interview all of them?
I think that would be a good idea to have the whole board be able to do an interview of each of them. Yeah.
Okay, all of them? All right, okay. Mr. Chang?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, Mrs. Chan? I agree. Okay. Mrs. Ryan?
I agree, and I would also accept the Zoom interviews because 2 of them, well, 3 of them are from out of town, Sacramento, Santa Barbara, Cedar Rapids, and Iowa. So we would have to kind of make some concessions unless we're planning to have everybody come in on a Friday or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, I would prefer that they be in person, but I understand, Iowa, that's a bigger nut. I guess my preference is that they be there here in person so we could see them, but obviously if they cannot, but again, that's to the board. So Mrs. Ryan, you said your preference that they could be by Zoom. Mrs. Chan?
I would be fine with Zoom for this interview portion.
Okay, Mr. Chang?
Yeah, me too.
Okay, Mr. Clark?
I think that we could leave it open for the search firm to choose what they would like to do, Zoom or in person.
All right, okay. I think we have our instructions. So now the last bite-sized portion is what day. I would prefer to do it in the evening so that people, have an opportunity to listen, because there are a lot of people at work. It may be 4 hours, so maybe we have to start at 5 o'clock, if that's all right. How is 5? I'm just throwing out a date. How is 5 o'clock next Thursday, or is that too soon? What does everybody's calendar look like Thursday, Friday, Thursday at 5 o'clock?
That's good. I was gonna just,
Tuesday will be the February 17th, right?
Correct.
I was just gonna suggest we not do it Monday night.
Oh, yes, I
Yeah,
know
I-
exactly.
Romantics of the world.
Exactly, no, I
A lot of
agree.
people would be in trouble.
I think, yeah.
So just confirming, we have Friday, the 18th and Monday, the 21st off school?
Yes. Mhm.
So we're going to be televising it via Zoom, so if somebody wanted to capture it, they could, or either live in Zoom, or they could watch a recording. Because
Yes.
people may be traveling and whatnot.
Correct.
But yeah, that works for me.
All right, okay. Mrs. Ryan?
I would be fine. I did have a question, though. This, with 3 of the search firms being out of town, is it included, like their travel expense? And then when they come in and do the actual work, is it all inclusive, or is there yet another price because they're from out of town?
So the summary that I gave you in the second column shows what the price includes. And so all of these firms are including the search services, which, yes, would include their travel to the district office. However,
and the duration of their
initially, yeah.
work, right? Like the duration of their
Mhm.
work.
Yeah, some of them, though, have guarantees. Some of them have a 2-year guarantee. Some of them have a 1-year guarantee. One doesn't have a guarantee at all. So those kinds of things are covered in the expense or the cost outline, which is in your packet, and you just haven't had a chance to look at that yet. But once you do, that will become very apparent. So some firms are saying that they're including their expenses in the fee as an all-inclusive, and then others might be charging additional for those kinds of things. The other thing is, if the board decides that it wants to do a national search, the board will need to decide whether or not it's going to cover the candidate's travel expenses. So that's something that some districts do and others do not, but that is a consideration. If you have somebody from New York or Virginia that wants to come and interview here, the board may want to pick up their flight, lodging, et cetera.
Those are all things we can discuss with the search firm.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right.
Can I just clarify? I understand the single page handout that you just circulated is confidential.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Mhm.
The binder is,
The binder is confidential as well until, right, you select a firm, and then the firm that you select, you then can take their contract and make it public, so that the public has, access to the company's information and all of the costs that are involved in that contract.
okay, thank you. And so when does the public become aware of who the 4 search firms are?
We will publicize it
Yeah.
now.
Oh,
You
now.
can talk
Oh,
about who the
Yes.
firms are. I'm just,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, no.
asking not to discuss the,
Right.
what they have proposed as their fees.
Can any of this proposal be shared, or is it confidential work product?
I think right now it's confidential work product. I did check with counsel on that. And again, it's the one that you select. The public has a right to see you interview these firms and talk with them. If they want to give that information in open session, they have the right to do that, but we shouldn't be sharing this information preliminarily.
Not from, I think, our end, right, but from more of
Yes.
the companies in
Yes.
themselves. But I agree, Mr. Kalaki. I think the names of the 4 will go out, will be made public as to who they are. And then, of course, whatever documents or presentations they make
Yes.
next Thursday will all be made public.
Yeah.
Would those documents, would they be making their presentation materials available at the night of the meeting, or would they be providing them ahead of time so that they could be submitted as agenda materials?
So the materials that they're providing are already included in your binder. I don't think that they're going to provide you with anything other than that, except that they will probably do like a PowerPoint or a Google slideshow to walk you through the process. And the process is fairly standard. You will note that as you read through the proposals, there's a pretty standard lockstep procedure. that they go through to recruit a candidate, to solicit information from district stakeholders, to put a report together for the Board of Education, to organize interviews, to assist the board in coming up with questions for those interviews. All of those things are very standard. And so they will, they'll put together a presentation, but everything that you need right now to learn as much as you can about each one of these firms is in your binder.
And so, and I appreciate that. That's helpful to let the board members know, but as far as allowing the public to know what materials, like if there was an agenda, for example, of a meeting that would be produced to the public so that it would be,
Yeah.
made aware. So I'm just wondering, can we ask these search firms to produce whatever PowerPoint they're going to make or something 48 hours before so that it can be?
We can ask them, yes. We can certainly make that
Something like
request.
that.
Absolutely. We can
Mhm,
make the
sure.
request, and if they don't want to do it, it's totally up
Yeah.
to them, right? But it
Okay.
is, it will be an agendized meeting, so the agenda will be made public. And like any agendized meeting, right, any materials that are available will be made available to the public.
Of course, yes.
So, and then, once the search committee goes, then, and thank you so much for this. And I believe that you are now going to be handing everything to me, so to speak,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
But I will be only simply the facilitator in terms of dates and providing information to the board as to what we need to do in terms of dates. And then Jennifer Delatorre will be the contact person in terms of the actual scheduling. So
Yes.
I thank you so much,
course.
Superintendent Delatorre, for getting us here. And now I will take
Yep.
it and we will move it along with the entire board. So
Thank you.
Thank
And
you so much.
also, President Jack and members of the board, I wanted to give credit where credit is due. I didn't put these binders together. It was the executive assistant, Jennifer Delatorre. So you should be thanking her and not me for
All right.
this information.
So we have two Delatores to thank. So thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, Linda.
Yes, of course.
All right, okay. And thank you so much to the board for your flexibility and for us moving on next week on Thursday. So I really appreciate that. All right, now we go to 11. Oh, I'm sorry.
What time we start?
5 o'clock,
5? Okay.
5 o'clock, Thursday. And then, any other questions before we move forward? No? All right, number 11C, the solar energy presentation.
Yes, I have Shiva here from Veregy. Am I saying that correct?
Veregy.
Veregy,
Yeah.
thank you. And they are a company that provides solar solutions to school districts. And they're actually working in one of our neighboring districts right now, Alhambra Unified School District. So it's possible that Mrs. Ryan knows all
Yes, I
about
was
them.
gonna say.
They're also working in Baldwin Park.
Yeah.
But I had the distinct pleasure of meeting these distinguished gentlemen at the Superintendent Symposium and thought it's probably time for the board to take a look at solar. Again, we did this about 10 years ago. And it was not feasible for us at the time, but a lot has changed since then. So with that, I will turn it over to Shiva and you can introduce your partner.
This is my business associate, Ron Stalika.
Pleasure. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
President Jack, Superintendent Delatorre, and distinguished members. Thank you so much for having us today. And we want to respectfully submit our thoughts on how San Marino Unified could potentially move forward with the solar. Just very briefly, a little bit about who Veregy is. We have been in business for over 33 years. We have implemented over $1.7 billion in energy projects. And we have over 550 professionals doing breathing energy, helping school districts achieve energy efficiency, climate change goals, that kind of stuff. So that's what we do as a company. Some more statistics there. We are a national company, but we are local here. We are in Irvine, California is where our California office is. And we have been very active in the K-12 market for a long time. As the superintendent just told us, we are working here with Alhambra Unified. for almost last 7 years. And so with the Baldwin Park, and we have helped them with numerous energy projects. Okay, so just a little bit more about us. I won't talk too many details here. We have completed about 142 megawatts of solar installed at K through 12 across the country. We are ranked number 9th in the US in terms of solar installers. We have also the distinct privilege of installing the biggest solar in the country. So solar project that has been completed at a K through 12 school in the country. And we self-perform all our work. We are local here. As I said, we have an office in Irvine and in Northern California, and we do all our work here. Some photos here, okay? Having said that, just want to give you some thoughts about why San Marino Unified School District should consider solar. The first and foremost reason is there is tremendous cost savings to be achieved at the school district with no upfront capital. I know all of us here live in Southern California. I live here in Southern California as well. We get numerous offers for solar. Solar can be installed at no cost to the school district. So that's a very attractive offering. And not only does it not have any upfront capital cost, but it also has savings on the very first year of installation and ongoing energy savings going forward. So it is a net positive benefit to the school district. I think that's the most important part. Price stability, the solar prices will increase just a little bit, but yeah, we all know that the utility prices are subject to fluctuations based on market conditions. They are expecting the rates for commercial electricity to exceed 25 cents in California, whereas a solar project will give you price stability going forward. Sustainability, climate change, public relations. It's a huge win for the school district to have solar here because it will help you meet the climate change goals of the state, your personal private climate goal, the district's climate goals, and also it's a huge public relations win because you will be able to communicate to all the stakeholders, your teachers, parents, and other stakeholders in the community that San Marino Unified School District is doing something about climate change and installing clean energy in its schools. Resiliency, we are familiar that there will be, because of forest fires and other reasons, there have been a lot of power shutoffs. One of the things that the solar energy can provide is batteries and storage capability. So in the event of a power failure, there is at least a portion of your facility that can stay on and provide critical services to your students. So that's another significant benefit of the solar energy. And then I'll talk about carports. I'll show you some examples here in the next few slides. Most of the K through 12 solar installations are done through what are called carports. Carports basically provide shaded parking to your parents, teachers, and students who drive up to schools. And that's an added benefit because they are getting shaded parking in addition to clean energy in the school district. And then there's a lot of state regulation that's happening where the state wants to move to a full electrification where we do not want to use natural gas equipment anymore. That's where the state is moving from an energy perspective. And having solar at your facility gives you a big advantage in moving that. Okay, so here are some examples of solar parking structures that we are showing you here. Both of these are projects that we have completed. This is a typical project where you can see the kind of solar structures that are installed. And we put this photo here just to show that the solar can meld well with your backgrounds, any kind of aesthetically pleasing environment that can be created can be done with solar, and it doesn't have to be always boring like the way it is looking here. And I'm bringing this up because I know this is Huntington Street, and people are quite interested in making sure that the visibility and everything is done right. And for those reasons, there are very aesthetically pleasing options that can be done with solar as well. So we just looked at San Marino High School. This is just a preliminary look. So we think there is some carport structures that can be installed here and in these areas. We are just showing you that we did take a little bit of a look. We haven't done a complete study. We need to do a complete study to come back and present to you with actual options of what can be done. Okay, so how do we pay for this? So here is a graph. So this currently shows the energy that you are paying to Southern California Edison. The solar is not going to completely offset your energy usage because that would take a huge system, which is not economically advantageous. So we will offset a portion of the energy through the solar energy, and there will be savings that's going to be left over every year to the school districts that will accumulate. So essentially, all you're doing is the money that you're paying to Edison right now, you're going to take a portion of that, invest it in the solar in a certain sense, and keep the rest as savings to the school district. I think that's how this can be financed, and that's the most advantageous way to finance. And we do this through something called power purchase agreement, which is a third-party ownership. And the reason why it's done that way is because there's a lot of tax credits that the school district cannot take advantage of, whereas a private party can take benefits of the tax credits. That's what makes this whole math possible. Okay, so we just proposed a timeline here. We think with your permission, we can visit all the schools that are at San Marino Unified School District, complete our initial feasibility assessment, and we can provide you with our analysis by March 30th. It'll take us a couple of weeks to go do that. So, and then we can make sure the solar is sized right, and then we can come and present the contracts. And it is possible to get this done, started in this summer's construction period if we can move in a fast fashion. So I think that's about our presentation here. And thank you so much for having us, and happy to take any questions.
Mrs. Chan?
I had a few questions. So you mentioned, thank you for being aware of San Marino's design review propensities. So I assume that would just be something you would need to work out with the city, and you're familiar with all of
Right,
those.
right, absolutely.
And then, so the installation cost, you gave us a couple of different scenarios of what that could look like. And so that would all be part of what we would have to determine with the cost and the proposal that you're saying you would present, right?
Right. So what our analysis would do is we would go to the site, analyze what size it is, and then do a little bit of a preliminary meeting with the city to understand what would get approved. And then we would come back to you and say, based on that, this would be your electric price going forward.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And then what would be any additional maintenance costs that might be required to maintain that? And then in addition to that, I don't know how solar works, but are there other components of it needing to be installed underground? So I guess I'm just trying to ask if there are other costs that may not be included in that.
There should be no costs included. That is not included in the total price that you would get. So regarding maintenance, the owners of the facility, which would be us or our finance company, would completely own, operate, and maintain, and you would just get the electricity out of it. So there would be no maintenance required by the school district.
And when we do the analysis, we're looking at more than just solar. We have to analyze not only the solar system, but also the buildings itself. So you gotta look at the buildings and see how energy efficient they currently are. What's the use of it? What are the long-term goals of San Marino? So we take everything into consideration when we provide the report back.
Would that also include an assessment of our current electrical grid systems and all of that as well?
Electrical grid, as in what exists at the school, yes, it would include the analysis of that. We have to, because that's what we would connect the solar system to, so we have to analyze that, yes, absolutely.
And so all of those costs would all be
included, yeah.
And there should be no cost for the term of the contract. It's the owner, so they provide full maintenance of the system itself, to ensure it's working, and improvement and keep their promise exactly what the solar is providing to the district itself.
Did you listen to the last one, or I am the only one?
Listen to the last
presentation
on solar.
Did you? Or just
I
me?
think I can't remember. It's been that long ago.
Yeah, very long, more
But
than
at that time, it wasn't feasible for us.
Yeah, right. So,
Yeah.
so maybe I'm the only one to listen for the last presentation more than 10 years ago. The time, probably right now technology improving. So then the installation probably easier, and also the past device you put probably cheaper. So
yeah.
So my concern, we have an aging plan for entire school campus.
Mm-hmm.
So all the time we dealing with about the bond issue, but because last time we did not pass the bond.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have to improve our facility. So this time, when you do the assessment, maybe you may just assess some area, maybe not necessarily put on the existing building roof, because in case I don't know once we agree how long we have to sign a contract. Is that this a 10-year or 20-year or?
Yeah, we'll come. It is going to be something like that. The ownership of you'll buy power for a 15 to 20-year period, but there will be buyout clauses.
Because individually, I'm just worried about in case we have to do a remodeling, or so then remove some of the existing building.
Right.
So you when you start to do the tour, so you just also just look at some that may have a not touch to the
got it. Got it. Yeah.
And also if you have to put in the roof, some of the roof probably has been for years, so maybe the lifetime need to replace. Yeah. So all need to be consideration. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll look at the existing equipment and see what can be improved. But the solar is not going to go on the roof at all. Okay. We don't want to touch the roof because we want to avoid any structural issues and stuff like that, which is going to be expensive. So, and also we try to not make it into a DSA project, because then that is going to impose additional stuff for the school district. So we have done this several times, and we try to do it in a manner such that it is easily approved by the DSA as well. So,
and then the second question, because eventually I think the California governor will reinforce about the electric car.
Right.
So with this issue, so for the solar energy, what they can is that
So-
have the benefit to
For the, yeah. Great question, Mr. Chang. So what we can do as part of the solar project is we can install some EV chargers at each of your schools. And so people who do drive electric cars can get the benefit of charging as part of the equation.
It's part of the overall look at it, so we want to make sure the infrastructure, we're going to put on a solar project, we have to look at your existing facility, but also look at the master plan as far as the school districts look at EV, like the electric vehicles, for not only for charging stations for cars, but the infrastructure for buses, if they want to go that way. So we have to make sure we do this right the first time, or the ability to step up the system as a school district in that direction. So, Mr. Jake, we try to look at all, provide the district with a comprehensive, overview of the district for all energy usage. And make sure we meet with the master plan, so we're just going in one direction, we never go backtrack.
Thank you.
Can these be both in the parking lots and also maybe out in play areas or outside lunch areas for shade structures?
Yeah, we have done like, lunch areas, we have covered them with solar panels. Absolutely, those are all definitely
The play areas.
play areas as well, yeah.
Mrs. Ryan?
Yes, so if you can turn to this graph here, the most telling one for me. So it looks to me like a 10-year investment, a minimal, in terms of continuing to upgrade to generate the savings. And then we don't realize the savings until after kind of year 10 almost.
Oh, actually, please don't pay attention to those little graphs there. There is a significant actual savings in the very first year. I mean, we have school districts where just the end of this period, it is millions of dollars in energy savings. So maybe that graph is not very indicative of, I was just trying to illustrate the concept of how it would work, not the actual proportion of it.
Mm-hmm. And so how, as we're going along with all these upgrades and savings, is it easy to get out of this contract, or we have to continue until we realize that there is some savings? Like I'm not seeing, like, I know that you didn't show the actual benefits or financial benefits, because it seems like it's a 10-year investment of money that we don't really have right now.
No. Let's backtrack. So this is your utility cost. Let us just say this is $500,000 that you are paying to Edison, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's going up in the future, right? So we are going to take $250,000 instead of paying to Edison, you pay to solar energy, right? So no additional cost to the school district. It's what you already are spending. A portion of it, you're going to pay for the solar energy, right? And you're going to be left with, just for argument, let's say $50,000 a year left over in savings that is going to accrue to the school districts in year one. That savings is going to grow each year as it moves forward. So next year you get 75,000, 100,000. So you keep accruing savings on what you are paying Edison. So no extra cost to the school district, nothing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it will be funded. So no capital outlay required to get solar done.
So you're just shifting a portion of the cost that the district's already paying to Southern California Edison to pay for the solar, which
Correct.
is priced at a cheaper rate
Than what you're paying.
SCE.
Correct.
And that's how you get the difference in savings, which gets more exponential over time, correct?
Correct, exactly, because their rates are going up at a higher price than what the solar price that you're paying us is going up. So your savings is going to keep on increasing year over year over time.
I know, but in this particular graph, it does not show me that as I'm investing, let's go to year 8, that it has increased my blue, which is my post-project utility costs. So meaning I've spent now, say, 8 years of reinvestment into these upgrades, and my blue column is not increasing exponentially because you only have a finite amount of money. So you started opening up with 500,000, right? And then you take 250 and then you save 50,000, 100,000, maybe in year 7 and so on and so forth. Exponentially, you're going to stop and plateau at a certain amount. You can't exponentially be saving another 250,000 because we're not saving that because we're not expending that.
So once the term ends, all the savings are yours to keep, right? So there is a finite period for which the solar has to be paid off. After that, all the savings belongs to the school district.
So eventually, will we get to, if our raw number is 500,000, would we be saving up to 500,000 or still?
Depends on the size. So if your total spend is 500, we will only be offsetting about 300 of the 500. You're still going to be buying electricity from Edison. We don't want to build a system that gives you all the electricity that you use because it's very expensive to do it that way. So we will be providing you with electricity. Just for argument here, let's just say it's 50 to 60% of your energy usage is what you're going to be renewable. The rest will still be coming from Edison, right? So this is the portion, the blue is the portion that's coming from Edison. This red is the portion that solar is generating. The purple is your savings, right? If this did not exist, you would be paying the whole thing to Edison anyway. The blue would extend all the way to here every year and you would be paying that to Edison.
And we look at much more. This is just an example.
Okay.
Okay.
It's just an example of what to expect. A lot of times the customers say more, but when we look at the entire facility and looking at energy efficiencies, we're able to save substantially more. We're able to guarantee that savings too. So we can look at and provide a guarantee that for sure it's written in the contract that you're able to provide the guarantee. This is what you're going to say. And then there's always, the contract is always, say back out clauses. The investors of this want the solar investment because of the tax benefits to them. And that's why they'll provide the power purchase agreement for districts, basically giving the districts just as long as you agree to buy the solar off them at a set price. And you're able to see a set price. We're predicting, we know that energy prices are raising by at least 5% a year. We know that for the next 5 years. It's going up. Solar is not going to go up that much. We get to see that's either flat, we can negotiate a flat line. So you're going to pay 10 cents as opposed to 25 cents. So we can guarantee that, or it might go up, escalate slightly. So that all of that's set and that's all shown to the administration and to the board, before anything.
Yeah.
We don't know yet until we look at
the district and do the complete analysis. I think today's purpose was to just provide you with the information that it's possible and to kind of get your blessing to start to look at the school district and to come with an actual proposal so you can see the benefits of it.
Now, the post-project utility costs, it does show that that's increasing, but that's just because energy costs increase over time. But the actual real dollars are going to increase every year at 40% of what they otherwise would have, because you're cutting out 60% of that bar.
Correct. Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Oh, no, Mr. Chang.
Are there any regulation or compliance issue from the federal or the California? Eventually, we had to go through this.
I think, the state has goals, Mr. Chang, to become they want to increase solar by certain percentage. By participating in this, you are supporting the state's goal. The state wants to be 80% renewable by 2035 or something like that. I have to remember. So the state is definitely wanting to go in that direction, right? And they're pushing Edison and PG&E and SDG&E to buy only renewable energy. So everybody is pushing towards that direction.
Okay. How about once install this, is there any rebate from Edison or from any?
No, we haven't seen anything along those lines. I mean, I can right around your school district. There is a number of school districts that have done this. We can go visit a number of them, including Alhambra, where it has been installed.
What is the stage right now with the Alhambra School District? Already complete or?
I think it is complete. I think. Is it? I haven't checked the status. I can find out and I'll let you know. Yeah, but there is a lot of school districts. I can take you to where it has been fully done, and it is saving a tremendous amount of money. The beauty of solar is there are no moving parts. You install a panel and I mean, it has dust, you clean it off. I mean, that's about it. There's nothing, no moving parts to it. That's what makes it a really simple and valuable installation.
So the maintenance, it is very simple for us to go out and it's basically we'll wake it down the panels and then making sure that the system is working correctly. So the maintenance on it is very minimal.
But we could also, for any, are there vehicles that the district owns? There's maintenance vehicles and so on, correct?
Gil, can you speak to that issue? We do have some vehicles, right? Maintenance vehicles.
We do have.
Yeah.
Like the bigger vehicles are not electric, but all the custodian cars are all electric.
Okay, and over time, as those vehicles are being replaced, the maintenance trucks and so on, you could then, we're starting to see electric pickup trucks enter the market. We could buy electric pickup trucks that could then be charged, and we do not only
Absolutely.
save in electricity, but gasoline expense.
Right.
Plus there's also like equipment too. A lot of equipment like the ground stuff going to that direction.
Yeah, and the big federal grant in the infrastructure bill for school districts to get electric buses as well. So that's another area that can be explored. If
And
there is
that's one of the things we have to sign for, or have the capacity to grow into that, what's needed for the infrastructure. So it's just not a matter of just putting panels on. We have to understand how each school's run, the capacity, how energy efficient they currently are, the age of the equipment that you currently have. Even look at the roof, all aspects that affect energy itself, and then also look at the future needs.
Okay, well, I thank you very much. This was only a presentation item, so it is not an action item. So I thank you both very much for coming, and Dr. Delatorre for making this presentation. It seems to be right that there is some interest, would we say, on the board in terms of looking further into this kind of
Yeah, I
Would that
think
be
this is a
great?
great idea. I think we should definitely be looking into this, and I don't know if it's just signaling to the superintendent to please do further investigation
Right, yeah.
or a directive. I don't know
Right,
what the
so,
proper
so
channel.
what we would do, based on the interest, thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you very, very much. Thank you for making that presentation. So, Superintendent Delatorre, I think you kind of have an idea, so, we would like you to bring it back as to, a possible, an implementation of the plan, how many, companies, we should interview, but we will leave it up to you to bring
Certainly.
us back some information about how we get further information and how we proceed.
And I can survey other districts that
Yes.
have already installed solar
Right.
at their school site. So
Right.
I will do that and bring that information back to the board.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you. Good evening. And now we go to 11D, compliance team update. Dr. Choi?
Thank you, President Jack, members of the board. student board member, Superintendent Delatorre. It's my pleasure to present a COVID compliance team update. It's hard to believe that the last time I did one was back at the start of the school year. So a lot has evolved and changed with the pandemic and how our response has been in terms of managing the pandemic. So for tonight, I'd like to provide sort of a review of what the COVID compliance team is and what we've done in terms of managing the response to COVID. And also provide a situational update, and then conclude the presentation with an outlook of what we might expect. So the COVID compliance team is a much smaller team today than it was when the COVID pandemic hit. As some of you may recall, back in 2020, when the school formed a schools reopening task force, it was a fairly large group of about 70 members. In fact, some of you here today were participants in that task force. And as we began to do research and prepare for the reopening of schools, we received direction from the county to formulate a COVID compliance team. And this COVID compliance team is really tasked with establishing and enforcing safety protocols. And also, the team is also responsible for educating and informing staff, students, and families in regards to these policies and protocols. So today, we have a very agile 24-member COVID compliance team that continues to meet routinely. In fact, we are meeting weekly at this point, and that meeting frequency has changed since the start of the school year. When we thought that cases were low enough, we pivoted and shifted to a bi-weekly and a monthly meeting. But as the cases went up, we pivoted again and met weekly. So a good example of why it's so important for this team to really work together is a very recent example with the CDC's change in the isolation period of 10 days to 5 days. That policy and protocol change translated into significant changes for us in terms of managing the response. It meant changes to quarantines. It meant changes to how we communicate with students or staff that may test positive. So the ability to be small enough to adapt to these changes is critical. So with that, I have 2 slides. I want to summarize some of the deliverables, some of the outcomes from this COVID compliance team. And first and foremost, the COVID compliance team has done a tremendous job in terms of communicating. The COVID compliance team offers a website that is kept up to date with many of the protocols and policies from the county, as well as information, very useful information, practical information for our families and students and staff. We've also sent out emails. We survey the SMUSD community. We've developed flow charts. We've even created videos, as some of you may recall, reopening videos, just a very powerful platform and tool for communicating. We are also responsible for updating and sending notification letters to our families. And of course, many families are very familiar with our dashboard. It's often one of the most hit web pages on our website in terms of just getting up-to-date information about number of cases in our schools, for example. Secondly, the COVID compliance team is also responsible for compliance monitoring and reporting. Some of the outcomes and products from the COVID compliance team has been the COVID safety plan, the county containment response and control plan. And the team has also been very adept at reporting cases and reporting test data to the county. In addition, the team also participates in telebriefings and is pretty much on top of all of the public health order changes that applies to K-12 schools. Some of the other outcomes that the team has produced has been screening forms. As some of you may recall, when we returned to in-person instruction, at one time, we required everyone to screen for temperature, screen for symptoms. We've implemented thermometers, shields, signage and floor markings. All of those things have gone through the COVID compliance team and before it's actually implemented. And then some of the more recent outcomes have been the vaccination events. Now, when we think about vaccination events, we often think about our partnership with USC Keck and board member Joseph Chang's connection in helping us get started with that first vaccination event to improve the safety of our staff. But the COVID compliance team has also been critical in terms of just learning from that experience and then taking more of a crucial role in developing and creating our own vaccination clinics on campus. So we've learned that it's key to have those partnerships. We've learned tremendously in terms of how to coordinate clinics, how to create signups and registrations for our students, for our staff. And we've also managed to coordinate volunteers to help these clinics run very smoothly. Next, the COVID compliance team is also very much knee-deep in the testing programs. I'm very proud of the fact that for a district of our size, and to be able to offer 4 distinct COVID testing programs is quite tremendous. I've talked about it before. We continue to offer weekly asymptomatic PCR testing to any staff, any student, any volunteer in our district. We provide daily rapid antigen tests for anyone that develops symptoms while they are at school. And then most recently, we are administering and providing self-tests to students and staff that may have exposure while they're at school. And also, it's also very much in line with the county's quarantine policy, which is essentially test to stay. If you've received exposure and you test negative, you continue to stay and you continue to participate in school, which is very important. And then finally, the last thing I want to touch on is support for our students, families, and employees. What's really unique about our district and our COVID compliance team is that we leveraged available funding to hire a dedicated COVID coordinator, as well as a dedicated COVID support staff person for each school site. And what it really comes down to is excellent customer service that we provide not just to our staff and our students, but to our families. Because when a family member that is a student or a staff member gets tested positive, you want good customer service. You want to know what do I have to do? What's the earliest I can get back to continue my in-person education? So that has been really, really stellar in terms of the COVID compliance team. So now I'd like to shift a little bit and provide you with a situational update. I think it's important to sort of take where we're at in the context of things. So I'll start with where we are in terms of the COVID pandemic from an international level. According to statistics from the WHO organization, the World Health Organization, the metrics are quite staggering. If you look at the number of deaths, that's over 5 million deaths globally. And then as you zoom in a little bit with the United States, we're looking at almost 900,000 deaths. So this is truly a pandemic that is touching just about every nation in the world. But I think if we zoom in a little bit more and we do a comparison of where California stands in terms of cases, California has really had a tremendous number of cases. It's really impacted the state of California. And when you look at the most recent metrics for California, I think it's hard to ignore the metrics, but it's also very important to look at the trends. And I think this is where we start looking at graphs that tell more of a story of not just where we were and where we are, but perhaps where we're headed. So I'm going to zoom in and provide some charts here on LA County. And 3 key metrics that we typically look at when we assess the situation is we look at the positivity of cases, we look at hospitalizations, and then we also look at number of deaths. And if you can see a general trend with all of these charts is that we've pretty much hit a peak, and the numbers are very small here. We've hit a peak at the start of the year in January. And as you can see, there has been a tremendous decline. You can see the slope has, so that's why you see and hear a lot of headlines in the news today about how we have passed the Omicron surge. Some have said we're beyond it, it's over. But I think it's still important to look at the trends. Let's zoom in a little bit more and take a look at schools in LA County. So schools in LA County also reflect what's happening in overall LA County. You can see that the trend is moving in the right direction. The number of cases peaked at the first of the year in January and has significantly dropped now that we are in February. Let's zoom in a little bit more and take a look at what's happening in San Marino. So the data is not as updated as the county data, but you can see that it tells the same story, that it's peaking up pretty much in January. And then once the updated chart comes out, we will see a decline. And of course, if we look at our very own dashboard, this is a snapshot from yesterday of our current active cases. At one point, we've had well over 50 active cases. But if you look at the data from yesterday, we currently have 10 active cases, which tells a very, very positive story in terms of where we're headed. So where are we headed? What does it look like next? What's next? So LA County Department of Public Health is calling where we're at a surge protocol. We are actively in a surge protocol. And what the surge protocol advises and requires school districts to do is that there are some temporary measures that the school district is taking in response to all of these cases that have happened in the past month. And some of those measures involve minimizing or simplifying reporting. We've had to reduce thresholds for attendance for certain events. So for example, indoor events have had a cap of 500, no more than 500 individuals. So as you may recall, some of the events that you've attended, someone is actually keeping track of how many individuals are entering that indoor facility. Next, many of us know this, we've had to upgrade our masks as employees, as volunteers. On the school campus, we are required to wear upgraded surgical masks or KN95 or N95 respirators. And students are highly recommended to do the same. And then of course, universal masking was required for both indoors and outdoors on school campus. And of course, the exceptions still apply, actively drinking or eating, or if you are outdoors and you can reliably maintain a 6-foot distance, would exempt you from outdoor masking. So I think as a district, we've complied fully with LA County's protocols, but yet at the same time, we've also been asking the right questions. We've taken very creative approaches to maximize the safety by following these protocols. But I think what's on a lot of people's minds today is now that we're looking at this huge decline in cases, hospitalizations, and deaths are dropping in terms of rates. What are we doing about what will happen in regards to masking? So LA County last week announced that outdoor masking in K-12 schools will be lifted when LA County hospitalizations drop below 2,500 for 7 consecutive days. What does that mean? We are currently at 2,700 hospitalizations. It's been dropping about 100 to 200 hospitalizations per day. So if we look at the trend, we may very well hit that threshold of 2,500 by the end of this week. And if it goes on for 7 days, schools are allowed to lift that requirement, and schools will no longer be required to mask outdoors. Now, many want to know, when will indoor masking change? So for the state of California, as Dr. Delatorre had mentioned earlier in the meeting, Governor Newsom has already announced that the state of California will lift its indoor masking mandate for vaccinated individuals on February 15th. However, LA County has decided that it has more of a restriction, and they have provided a threshold for LA County only, that when the transmission rate of LA County drops to the moderate level, and the moderate level is 2 steps down from where we're currently at, which is called high transmission, according to the CDC. And we have to hold it in that moderate transmission level for 2 weeks without any variants of concern. So there's a lot of things that have to come into play in order for indoor masking to be lifted in LA County. Now, on top of that, what's making it more confusing is that despite, even when we reach this threshold, it may not apply to schools because schools have an even higher standard. So schools sort of fall into the category of youth settings. It falls into the category of transportation settings, very much when you get on board an airplane, for example. So the guidance is that they have not announced any specific threshold for K-12 schools to lift indoor masking. So I think a lot, I've been getting a lot of feedback from staff, from parents, from students, that they're eager to lift that indoor masking, right? Make it an option. I hear it all the time, but we are following LA County protocols at this time. And as soon as we get more information about that threshold, things obviously will change. We expect that indoor masking will eventually be lifted. It's just a matter of when and how, right? We just need to know what the thresholds are. And in regards to testing, many have asked, are we going to keep doing testing for the rest of the year? Will it continue forever? I think a lot of it will have to do with our partnerships. We have an excellent partnership with Omnipathology to provide the weekly testing. We are very fortunate to have generous donations from the California Department of Public Health as well as LACO in providing us self-tests. So I would say that as the COVID compliance team lead, that we depend heavily on those supports. Until the day that we cannot afford to provide COVID testing at the cost of the district, then we will consider stopping. But I think because of these key partnerships, we will continue to provide COVID testing. And then of course, vaccines and vaccinations. I've been getting a lot of questions from families and staff about what is the district's position on requiring or mandating vaccines for our students and sometimes even staff members. What is the district's position? When it comes to employees, it's fairly straightforward at this time. The state of California and the California Department of Public Health has a public health order requiring all school employees, including volunteers, to be fully vaccinated or test weekly. And we are complying with that law, that legislation. But in terms of students, we really don't have a position at this time. We are following what the state and what the county is requiring us as a public school district to do in regards to vaccines. And many of that will depend on legislation. So I think it's very important that we do follow what our legislators are creating, what they're developing, what they're bringing forward in terms of laws that apply in schools in regards to the vaccine. And of course, a lot of it also depends on when and if the FDA fully approves the vaccines for use. Currently, the only vaccine that is fully approved is the Pfizer vaccine for ages 16 and up. All other vaccines below the age of 16 are under an emergency use authorization. So I think a lot will change. We do anticipate that vaccines will become eligible for children under the age of 5 by the end of March, perhaps even sooner. And of course, that will have an impact on the situation as well. So I want to end the presentation with a very hopeful message. And I've been evangelizing a hopeful message for the last several weeks with the COVID compliance team in our schools and our families, is that the Omicron surge is dissipating. Conditions are improving. And I know that there's been a lot of built up anxiety about when we can go back to normal. And the reality is we may never go back to a full normal as we once recalled that normal, what that normal definition is, but things will get better. Masks will eventually no longer be required. COVID testing potentially may never be fully required, but we have to follow LA County's direction in terms of their public health orders. So that concludes my presentation. I'm welcome to answer any questions or discuss any other matters.
I just like to make a comment, how lucky our school district, and also because we are the smaller school district, so we can do whatever. And the 2 years ago, yeah, we are very lucky, the school district appoint you as the COVID-19 compliance director. So
Thank you.
for the last 2 years, I am witness about, yeah, you are the knowledge and growing, and that right now I can call you the general of COVID-19 compliance.
Well,
You did everything except the one you haven't. You know what? We have to send you to Asia for quarantine at the hotel, and they, maybe someone can give you a coupon as the reward.
Thank
So
you.
that's what you probably you haven't experienced, but except for the LA life, I think I think with your guidance to the school district with the LA County protocol, I think that we are doing an excellent job. Yeah, I think we keep talking here, but maybe the outside of San Marino school community, they don't know. Yesterday I also heard from some, from the city budget. Actually, I can say we help them lot because we are able to control. Because for the public health, it doesn't, divide the school or the city. So entire the community, they need to have enough of the vaccination and go to the immunity. So we did, I think this city probably, I think it's about what, 80% or 90%?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chang,
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
compliment. And, just like any general, I think I have to thank the COVID compliance team. I'm not doing it all entirely myself, obviously, but it really takes this small community to work together. And I'm so appreciative of the fact that we do work very closely together. Sometimes we don't agree on everything, but the important thing is that we do work together.
And lastly, I also want to appreciate, the teacher union leadership. Yeah, we are the only school district. The teacher, they are not really make a big those issue about the COVID-19 vaccination. Yeah, so we are so peaceful. Yeah, so everyone they understand how important. Yeah, so
Yes.
So make the school district do the things easily. Yeah.
Yes, I want to echo what Mr. Chang is saying. I don't know if I can call you General Choi, but I want to thank Mr. Chang for his leadership, and also to Dr. Choi for his leadership, because I think Mr. Chang is absolutely correct that it is under your leadership and with Dr. Delatorre and the teachers union that we're able to come together as a community and really put the children's needs in the forefront, getting them back into school, keeping our schools open and safe. And then, of course, having, I call it a multiple layer approach to combating the COVID-19, whether it's through vaccinations, testing, various types, whether it's early testing versus more secure tests, right? And also with the masking, and when we improved it, we were able to really take a deeper look at what we're doing, whether we're doing hand sanitizations or we're doing all of the HVAC systems. All of that was very comprehensive. Thank you, Gil, over there for doing all the work. Our teachers, but also our administrators led the charge as well. I know that Dr. Lin was at the forefront in instrumentally leading his campus into a look at how they mask, where they're masking indoors and outdoors. And we also looked at all the activities that we were doing, and we were very mindful of our sports, our athletic programs, our visual performing arts. And so I thought that those layers of protection that we put in were very, very important to make everybody feel safe, and that they were part of making sure that we were able to address this pandemic. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chang.
Oh, I think
I know you always drive,
Too much.
over and you have masks for me, so.
By the way, I suggest you can share this experience to the next California School Board conference. Yeah, yeah, I
Thank
think
you.
that will be the good. Yeah.
Thank you.
And then besides that, I think the COVID may be gone someday, but like the flu, but I think the post-COVID-19 stage will be another issue. I think it's the mental health, the stress, and we need to evaluate, after that, what is the teacher teaching and the student learning in the result. Yeah, that we general can continue to follow up.
Really, we have to call him General Choi now instead of Dr. Choi?
General Choi.
Dr. Choi, I would like to also echo what Mr. Chang is saying, but thank you for everything that you and the COVID compliance team has done. It's been a tremendous amount of work, and the information that you are always able to provide is very helpful, giving us updates and letting us know what trends are and everything that you have done. So just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you. The flow charts are incredibly helpful when, I think that was the thing I kept sending to everyone the most was, okay, so you've tested positive, now you're a child and you've been exposed. And that was literally, and what was impressive about the team and everything your team did was how quickly you moved, because the information was constantly changing, and yet you were getting everything out there, working nonstop to really keep the community informed, which had the benefit of creating confidence that they could send their kids to school and to their activities. But it also helped create a sense of reminding everybody that we all have a part to play. And we had some guidance throughout the entire situation. So as we move, I think Mr. Chang was saying, it's always going to be here. I think a lot of conversation now we hear is about moving from a pandemic to an endemic phase of perspective, that this is here to stay and how are we living with it. And yet for us, knowing that we have all of you helping us on the public health side of it allows everyone else to focus on the student learning and social emotional support. So thank you very much for all the work.
Thank you.
Dr. Choi, I would like to also echo everybody else's sentiments, but, and I think your presentation is kind of an example, right, of, why it has been so successful and why you have been able to be so successful, because I feel your presentation provided a macro viewpoint as well as a micro viewpoint. And I feel that's the way the process was that you decided to undertake, right, as the leader of the COVID compliance team. And so I think that's the reason for the success, right? Your ability to understand what the process should be from a top down level and from a bottom up level. With that, and also I think your ability to, and not only, General Choi, but also I think I know, I feel like I know. So, but I feel, from the leadership, again, top down, bottom up, but from the leadership of the district, our administrators, which includes all of our site principals, the partnership with our teachers, not only with SMTA, but also with CSEA, right? Our classified staff who was also, they worked, so hard, both the teachers and the classified to support this kind of initiative, where we are kind of in the crosshairs of, we've just got to comply with the state laws. But at the end of the day, regardless of whether Omicron stays, whatever happens with COVID, I think that this template of what you did will provide us kind of a pathway, right? As to any additional problems that may come, because I think that something's always going to happen. So this kind of template for success, I think, has been a great one. So really, thank you. Very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so now I think we go back to you, Dr. Choi, which is 11E E-rate update.
Okay, President-Jack, members of the board, and Superintendent Del Torre and student board member, it's my pleasure to present a technology update in regards to E-rate and infrastructure. The last time I presented an update on technology was back in June of 2021. And I'll start off with a snapshot of where we're at. I think for the board, this slide may look familiar. When we developed the infrastructure plan for technology back in June, we focused on 3 areas: on cybersecurity, core network services, and network switches and Wi-Fi. And I'd like to just provide a little bit more detail in terms of where we're at, because not all the projects are complete. Some are in progress, and then some are just being held up. And I think it's important for us to kind of get a pulse of where we're at in terms of the technology infrastructure. So first and foremost, cybersecurity is actually a series of various projects. And I'm pleased to report that we've completed a couple of key projects under cybersecurity, which is that one of the first things you do when you take a look at how secure your environment is to do a vulnerability scan. It's to find all your weak points. And we've successfully completed that. We've patched all of the holes, if you will, in terms of cybersecurity. And we've also brought online a monitoring platform. It's called a SOC for short, or Security Online Center, that really utilizes a monitoring platform. And we're currently in the process of creating what we call endpoints. These are systems that feed into our SOC that tells us, where we're at in terms of our cybersecurity posture. So if you think about your home, for example, your own home security system, right? Your SOC would be sort of like your console at your home, where you enter your key number, your keypad to arm or disarm your home. And then you have all these little sensors on your doors and your windows that sort of provide your home security system an update. If the window were to open when you're not at home, it would trigger something, right? So that's very similar to what we're doing with cybersecurity. We have all these different tools and servers and things like that that feed into this one system, and then it monitors it. It just keeps track of it. So what we're doing next is that we're building intelligence into this security system. We're building what are called containment configurations, so that we can leverage artificial intelligence, or however you want to term it, rules, so that when next time your window or your door opens at 3 a.m. in the morning and it shouldn't be opening, it's going to automatically set off an alarm. It's going to automatically contact the appropriate authorities to respond appropriately. So that's where we're at in terms of cybersecurity. Now, one last thing I do want to touch on is that I believe it's about time that K-12 school districts sort of catch up with other industries, such as finance and healthcare. Many of those organizations have what they call a cyber risk score. And K-12 has traditionally not invested a whole lot into cybersecurity. So in partnership with our JPA, we are working with the JPA to do an analysis, do an assessment, and provide a cyber risk score that we will have after March. And it'll give us, especially at the executive team level, as well as at the board level, a good assessment of where we're at in terms of cybersecurity risk. So that's something I'm very excited about. I think it's due that school districts step up to defend itself appropriately and have the right resources to have a safe cybersecurity and secure environment. Next project I am pleased to report is a project that we have completed. We finally retired some old appliances, about 11 years old appliances. And these appliances play such a mission, they're such mission critical that these devices actually help all of the other devices that are on our network find things on the internet. That's really what the DDI project's about. So when your laptop or when your iPad tries to reach a website, the first thing they hit are these appliances before it even reaches those devices. So fortunately, with one-time funding, with ESSER funds, we have been able to replace these age-old devices. So that's a great thing. Hopefully it'll last another 10 plus years for us. The third project I do want to bring up to speed with the board is our network switches and Wi-Fi. This is a fairly large project consisting of a little over $1 million, combining ESSER funds, CARES funds, as well as federal E-rate funds. And we're at that point where we have scoped the project. We went through the E-rate process. As some of you may recall, it was a competitive bidding process. We're in the step where we are actually pre-configuring the equipment before the equipment's even here. The reason for that is because there has been tremendous supply chain issues. We ordered this back in, I believe it was like September, much earlier in the year. And I was surprised to learn that 95% of the US orders are delayed currently. So these devices are coming from Cisco Meraki. It's a fairly large technology company that provides network switching equipment to many organizations around the world. But we were expecting the equipment to come in November. It got delayed. We were expecting it to come in February. It got delayed. So now we anticipate the equipment to arrive in May. We do have a deadline to get the equipment installed by the end of September in order to qualify for the E-rate discounts. There is a possibility where we can file for an extension. We would rather not. But that's where we're at now with the network switches. One positive outcome of this is that if we do get the equipment in May, we will more than likely be able to install it with least impact to classroom disruptions, testing disruptions. So that is a silver lining here with some of the delays with the network switching and Wi-Fi project. So just to look ahead in terms of E-rate planning, we're already planning for requesting for E-rate funds for 2022 through 2023. And just to give a little context of what the E-rate program is about, it is a federal program that benefits schools and libraries to provide discounts on telecommunications services. And it was created back in 1996 under the Federal Telecommunications Act and is administered through the FCC and through the USAC. It provides about $4.2 billion to schools and libraries nationwide. Our district has benefited a little over $1 million from this program. We qualify typically in the 20 to 40% discount range because of our free and reduced numbers. But a cornerstone of the program is the competitive bidding process. That's why it takes almost an entire year before we actually see the discounts that we go through this process. And there's two categories of service. First is broadband services, and the second is internal connections. And I already talked a little bit about the history. The program itself has evolved over the years in terms of what it will fund. It still continues to fund our internet service. But in the past, there was some significant changes to the federal law and no longer funds our voice services, web hosting, and cellular service, which we were able to take advantage of prior to 2014. And in terms of category 2 services, 2 years ago, we installed and upgraded our UPS batteries. These are the battery packs that run inside the network closets, such that if there was a power failure, our phones would continue to work. There's actually a lot of power issues in the San Marino grid that we often learn very early in the morning that, oh, power fluctuated at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. and the equipment would just no longer work. We have to physically reset them. So the UPSs have been essential. And then, of course, in this current year, we are looking forward to the switching and Wi-Fi upgrades. So what we have to look forward to for 22-23 is a new contract for our wide area fiber network. Our schools are physically connected to the district, actually specifically to the Huntington Middle School network closet through some dedicated fibers that run underground, they run on the utility poles. And that contract, that 5-year contract is expired. And we did put out an RFP earlier this year in December. We advertised it. We received responsive bids. And we are in the process of evaluating those bids. And I anticipate having a contract for board approval at the next board meeting on February 22nd. And hopefully with the board's approval, we can proceed to apply for those E-rate discounts on this wide area fiber network. In addition to that network, we are looking to renew our internet services with LACO, with USC Los Netos, and also with Crown Castle, who provides the fiber that connects us to One Wilshire for the USC connection. And then we are not asking for any requests for category 2. I believe that with the switches and the Wi-Fi that's coming in this year, we can take a pause in terms of our category 2 requests for 22-23. So in closing, I just want to summarize that there's a number of concurrent infrastructure technology projects. A lot of it is behind the scenes. We will continue to leverage E-rate funding to fund a lot of the essential services, and look out for the new contract that will be coming up in the February 22nd Board of Education meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Choi, so very much. Are there any questions for Dr. Choi?
Gotta admit that with all the COVID stuff that you do, I almost forgot that our chief technology officer knows something about technology.
Yeah.
So just thank you very much. I look forward to looking at that contract, but everything you're doing with keeping this up to date is important. So on the security and also keeping us running. So thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
I was just going to say, much to the chagrin of some of our high school students, I know you closed the loophole around everyone knowing what the Wi-Fi password was for staff, which is actually probably appreciated because now it runs a little faster when it needs to. But yeah, I know all the students knew that for a while, so.
It's like 4th grade.
Right. But it's been very helpful to have upgraded services because our cell phone services have been a little bit spottier in the city. So having more reliable Wi-Fi has been critical, I think, for everybody. So appreciate all that work.
Thank you, Mrs. Chan. All right, well, thank you, Dr. Choi, for both presentations. Very appreciative, very thorough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we are at item number 12, board superintendent discussion items. Anything? Anybody?
I know we are continue to developing some curriculum instruction. So, but I think last time high school principal mentioned about, right now the number of AP we offer is close to the Arcadia, right?
One shy of Arcadia High School. Mhm.
So maybe that can, come out, something and then let the parent know. And,
Yes.
But in the meantime, we also need to decide what the direction, we want to come out the couple, the program, or the subject,
Absolutely. Yes. I will work on that.
All right, thank you. So it is 9:12, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.